Alexander. I have the theater that Glenn was talking about in the San Francisco Magic Theater in the city. We'd love to see you guys there. For the people that don't, does everyone even know who Lee Grabel was?
Yeah.
Perfect. I just want to make sure, because sometimes some people don't. One of my favorite things about him, I felt very lucky that I got to spend a bit of time with him. Not like Patrick spent a lot. I don't know if you guys know that Patrick, you did illustrations for the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but you know, I spent a lot of time. It was incredibly nice to me as a young kid growing up doing magic. Just thought I was so lucky. And I always loved that he got to perform in San Francisco at the World's Fair and many other things. But I don't want to say too much because I don't know what you're going to be talking about him. So without any further ado, Katy Grabel. She has a book. Pick it up.
Oh yeah, by the way. My father loved this community. He loved professional magic. You guys have been so good to him for years. Thank you so much. So I wrote this book. I started it quite a few years ago, but I didn't do anything with it because I knew he wouldn't like it. I revealed some tricks and illusions in the telling of the story, and I just knew I just had to wait. So he died actually 10 years ago. The book is out now. So I know you know him through the Royal Dynasty of Magic, but actually in the 70s he went through this phase of wanting to be a big-time Las Vegas magician. At that point his show had been in storage 17 years, and you might know that he traveled the 50s with this big theatrical illusion show through Middle America, but it had been in storage 17 years. I was 14, I saw him mobilize the show, I saw him get it out of storage. He built new illusions, he booked a tour that he hoped would give him connections for a casino booking. So this is what the book's about. I'm 14, I'm really impressionable, I'm on the road. It's about the mobilization of the magic show and being on the road and everything that happened. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to read 2 scenes and then a narration. I'm going to show you some photos, and then if you have any questions, you can ask them, okay? So my parents were members of the Magic Circle in Oakland in the 70s. And they used to have parties. So I'm going to read a scene from one of the parties, and it's before we're on the road. Okay, at party time, the wives trotted in the door in colorful muumuus and dangly earrings, heavily perfumed, bearing casseroles and jabbering loudly. Behind them, in a fussy hubbub, trudged magicians, knotted and stooped, pink cheeks newly shaven, their V-neck shirts revealing thin patches of chest hair. Right away, they got down to business. With old card decks and trick gimmicks stuffed in their trouser pockets, they headed for the ice bucket to talk shop. You deal a second like this, a little pinky here. Use a long card, see? This is how they hold the cards in New York. If you're gonna throw cards, they gotta be nylon. Or sometimes they didn't talk at all, pulling out a deck or laying a coin in the center of a palm, silently invited an exchange of tricks. It went back and forth. A break, a crimp, a pass, a foam ball slipped between hands, or a handkerchief tip poking out of a fist. They were simple pocket effects picked up at a magic depot. Showing their tricks to another magician was like finding a citizen of their own country. Meanwhile, the women chatted among themselves and completely ignored them. I passed them crackers. Your mom got more of those little onions? One of them asked me, holding up a martini stem glass. My parents had met them at the Oakland chapter of the Magic Circle. They were much older than my parents, a hodgepodge of theatrical talent from the last days of vaudeville and big band floor acts. The men wore dapper polyester suits with thin gold chains around their necks that smelled of stale aftershave. Guests included Mr. Friday Night, known for a popular drunk magic act, Maisie, a magician and former member of a vaudevilling and juggling duo, the amazing Zogie, who gave up his cushy job with the U.S. Postal Service after a flattering review in Variety, and Wally, a former burlesque magician whose dirty jokes used to knock them dead at private stag parties. I went to the kitchen to help Mom. Go out to the freezer in the garage and get me the frozen peas, she said. Dad leaned and closed and said softly, lock the garage door behind you. I passed the smoke-filled room of gravelly voices and slipped into the garage. Dad had covered the stuffed horse and Floridora for the party. Suspicions ran high. Maybe he feared these magicians were on the Magic Castle payroll, and just when he was carving into the roast beef, they would sneak into the garage and whip out their James Bond cameras. During the party, the hobby magicians were excited about Dad's return to the stage. We'll finally get to see that floating ball of yours. Floating piano of yours, they said, with genuine delight. The pros, on the other hand, were dismayed. They'd given their lives to their acts, which left them broke and scrambling for new employment when entertainment switched to television. They surrounded Dad with their warnings and aspersions. The road's dead. You got flaky? End up in a poorhouse. You got a good thing here. Dad gazed over their heads as if they were too short to see the parade. He figured himself sharper than these guys. What about another drink, fellas? Okay, that's Main Street. Okay, we are on tour, and we have a few days without a show. So my parents and I decided to go to Lake Tahoe, prepare us because Doug Henning is going to be there. So this is what happens here. That night, we sashayed into a theater loaded with cocktail waitresses in short skirts and running waiters. Hundreds of people packed into long tables were swirling complimentary cocktails. We ordered dinner and gazed at the big, elegant red curtain with gathered festoons. In his show, Doug Henning floated a golden ball. We stored a burnt ribbon and escaped from a chain box. When he sawed a woman in half, he dashed between her body parts with a skip and a hop. He still had that long hippie hair, the same moon and stars on his velvet overalls. Countless wonderments happened with a leap and a grin. After the show, Dad removed a piece of paper from his breast pocket, jotted a note, and as we were leaving the theater, slapped it in the hand of a waiter, along with a $20 bill. "Give this to Mr. Henning," he said, and charged through the crowd. We followed him out of the theater, through the casino, and onto the street. "Where are you going, Lee?" Mom asked. "To the Golden Pine," he said. We had seen an ad. A magician's convention was in town. Uh-oh, he was fishing for autographs. "We're not registered," Mom said. "I'll tell them who I am," he said, and bolted ahead. We followed him down Lake Tahoe Boulevard and into another casino, past the slot machines to the conference rooms in the back. By the door, a sign read, "Welcome to the United Alliance of Magicians." We walked into a huge room filled with men milling about with name tags stuck to their shirts. With a medal of ballsy party crashers, we passed the registration table and strolled by booths of vendors selling their magic wares. There was coin gimmicks, Svengali decks, colorful silks, billiard balls, aerial suspensions, and gold hoops of every size. I kept looking into the crowd for an onrush of Dad's exuberant fans. We situated ourselves in the center of the huge room for optimal visibility and gazed down at the commercial-grade carpet and up to the high, airy rafters. It occurred to me that we were supposed to wait for someone to notice Dad without giving the appearance of waiting. We made small talk. "How was that chicken piccata? Isn't that a flying birdcage over there?" I fidgeted, twirling locks of hair and scratching my earlobe. The truth was clear. No one remembered America's leading magician in the 1950s. Maybe Mom had the same thought. We both scanned the crowd for a magic gal magician or any familiar face, while Dad kept his chin high and an obstinate spark in his eye. Mom's "nothing wrong here" smile was in full force. "Let's play the nickel machines," she encouraged. He looked away, pretending he didn't hear. I wordlessly stared into the sea of roving magicians and wondered why we were even here. Our trio had been having a fun night. Now we were on this embarrassing expedition. I have since come to understand we were not enough for my father. My mother gave him a home and a family. She baked him beautiful lemon meringue pies, bought him ties, socks, and boxers. Still, what he yearned for was beyond what she or any of us could give him. To love a great magician is to live in astonishment and to endure. A man approached us with an official badge pinned to his teal jacket. He looked us over for registration tags. Busted. He was going to ask us to leave. Ma, my heart stopped. Pointing a finger at Dad, he said, I think I've seen you. His eyebrows knitted together. You're... Dad stuck out his hand. I'm Lee Grabel. We happened to be in the area and wanted to drop by. He was Bob from Grass Valley. Mom and I loved Bob from Grass Valley and showered him with big, grateful smiles. He'd seen the show as a little boy in El Paso. Bob was followed by Glenn and Rudy, long ago fans from Texarkana and Fargo. Somewhere in the flurry of excitement, my doubt and my father vanished as fast as a lady in a box. I saw two ungainly teenage boys with oily faces ogle Dad from the sidelines. I heard one say, I thought he was dead. My father had been absent so long from professional magic, his death was easy to assume. All right, I'm going to end it with this narration. When I wonder why my father wanted to be a magician, I sometimes examine his old manipulation deck I keep in my desk drawer. I study the storied suits, speculating on their allures and temptations. Perhaps it was the mighty King of Spades, the most darkly arresting, who seduced my father, or the King of Diamonds, for the fortune it implied. Or all the handsome bachelor aces. Perhaps it was romantic images of riverboat gamblers and worldly men in dark suits, and the grand Howard Thurston, the leading magician of his youth, who flung cards with precision to folks in the audience. His London crowd would call out to him, throw cards, throw cards. I now believe we can't understand our passions or the mysterious journey on which they take us, and to ask any magician why is to hear only of the intangibles, energy and motion, nameless, onrushing forces, a yearning that never sleeps. What I do know is that my father didn't believe in magic. He believed in empirical evidence, and if it could not be touched, smelled, tasted, heard, or seen, it didn't exist. Magicians who touted the supernatural annoyed him. Such claims were just an extension of the on-stage to him. No wands, no magic words, no easy wins. Nothing happens unless you make it happen, was his testament to being responsible for your dreams. He wasn't afraid of toiling for what he wanted, as is evident in both his careers. A real estate agent when no one was buying, and a traveling showman when the road was dead. My father has always been my best story, my steward and crusader against the commonplace. Just by being his daughter, I have always been a special citizen of the world. When my nights are crowded by my failures, I imagine him, nose down and vision straight, donning his black coattails and polishing his shoes, even as defeat knocks on his dressing room door, whether it be muscle spasms in his hand, mutinous help, a heckler in the back row, or flames engulfing the theater. Perhaps my father's biggest gift to me was not his love, time, or effort, but showing me his magic show. There was something in the magic show's bloated, star-snacked light I would never find again. Okay. Okay, maybe I'll stand here. All right. So you might have seen this. This is an old lithograph that Dad had in the 50s. Okay, I know this is really blurry, but it's them on the road in the 50s. Yeah, so you can kind of see the old cars in the background. This was all before I was born. Cindy was there. She was a little girl at that time. That's that. Okay, this is my mother and her sister. Now, they did not normally travel with a sign on their truck. They felt, my dad didn't want to draw any attention to the show when he was on the road like that, because I think he was always afraid of vandals or people breaking in, so he didn't advertise it like that. All right, isn't that a great photo? Yeah. And that's Cindy right there. She was on the road until how old?
Until 8.
I love that photo because they're just backstage and like, what a good-looking family. I love this photo. He's on the road. I don't know. I just love it because he looks like a real character there. The cursor. The cursor.
On the little arrow in the page.
There you go.
And then that's him, older in life.
That's hard.
That's how all you guys know him. My mother, it's pretty clear, I believe the family agrees that he was really lucky to have a mother. She balanced him out, when she married him. She didn't want to be on stage. It was kind of like what he did for a profession. And I have this story, they met during World War II. He was about to be shipped off to overseas. They had a pretty whirlwind courtship a month. He told her he was a magician, and she, didn't matter to her. She thought of him as a soldier who might die in the war. Then he came back from the war, and she realized she had married a magician. So she had to be on stage, and for the first show, we talked her through what to do. It was a small show, but she got used to it, and she was the perfect help. Believe me, what I learned, that's her later on, what I learned when I was in the magic show is that she really ran it. She ran it from a table stage right. And anyone who's in magic, those husband and wife teams, it tends to be that way. The wife is always, the backbone of everything. All right, floating piano, so I know you've seen this photo. The story with that is that he needed a signature illusion, so they were in Portland, Oregon, visiting his parents, and he passed by a big piano store. He went inside, he goes, I'm interested in a piano, but I need to know if it will play upside down. So he actually got the guys in the back room, the warehouse, to turn it upside down in the showroom. And it all seemed to work, it could play, so. And Cindy had it refurbished. And it's sitting right now. Okay, so this is all the equipment. So when I was growing up, and I talk about this in the book, all that equipment was in the garage and in a trailer on Danville Boulevard. He was very protective of it. On Halloween, he would go to the trailer and sit there in his car because he was always afraid of kids breaking in the trailer. So on Halloween, he would sit there just to protect it. And then also in the garage, he had to enlarge the garage to fit all the equipment. And he had a whole plan in case the house ever caught on fire, how he would protect the equipment. And he had a whole plan. He was going to pump water from the pool to put out the flames in the garage. So it was interesting for me to grow up because magic, that whole history of this whole thing about magic being crates in the garage is just kind of interesting. And he's doing the Lazy Fisherman, which was one of Dante's tricks. Okay, this is a story. So Gary said I could tell stories. So in 1954, Dad was at the ranch with Dante, and him and Dante would go to the bar and talk about the succession and just talk. Mom would sit with Mrs. Dante in the kitchen. They would talk. So the story is that after Dante retired, he wanted to go back out on the road, but he couldn't afford it. He didn't have the money for it, but her wedding ring would have financed it. So one night he got pretty high, and she knew he wanted the ring, so she spent the night up in a tree, avoiding him. That's when a magician really wants to hit the road, that's what happens. So I thought that was a real, Gary said, I could tell stories when I came, so that's one of my stories.
You're a great storyteller, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, this is all, you see this pipe? Did anyone ever see him produce the big pipe? All right, so I was talking to another magician one time. They said every magician has a signature trick, and they do it to kind of prove their worth to other magicians. This is what he told me. And so it's something that's a really artistic move that other magicians don't do, just to impress them, and also it's a sign of how much you love the art. So in his pipe routine, later on, earlier in his career in the 50s, he had a whole pipe routine, and each pipe would get a little large. He would produce it. He would tongue cigarettes and produce pipes, and it would end, the finale would be this pipe here. It's, guess what? There it is. It was 2 feet long, it would come out of nowhere, and the audience was really known to shout. It was such a surprise to people. They would call out, they would exclaim. So this is it. So he had this feeling that when a magician dies, the family doesn't know what to do with the props. So what happens, they end up in garage sales, they end up in thrift stores, or the family throws them away. He did not want that happening to his stuff, particularly his clocks, which I saw him build, and his pipe, and all his pipes. So he went through a phase one night, he threw stuff away. My mother bought this pipe out of the trash, and she gave it to me. It's right now in my office. So what it is, the very top is a top of a pipe, and he cut it off. Then he put duct tape around it. And this is a car radiator hose. And this is a silver thing to kind of hold it together. This is balsa wood that he carved. And at the very top is like fluorescent orange paint to kind of give the impression of numbers. And so that's it. I have it. It's in my office, and I understand that he probably doesn't want it exposed, but it's exposed. And he probably wouldn't like me doing this, but actually I'm really proud that he did that, because that was like his big trick. And I had a chapter in the book that talked about secrets, and I talked about how he produced this, but that chapter didn't get in the book. All right, that's me and my dad in Hawaii. I adored him, I loved him, but as I got older, we had more issues. We had some issues, but he was entertaining, he was funny, he was really amazing in so many ways. My mom backstage, that's in 1977 when we were on tour, and that's Al Lewis over on the left. He was indispensable to the magic show. Every illusion show has right hand man help, someone you really have to trust, and that was him, and my mom. So there they are. Al Lewis was also he had his own magic act. He was a really good magician. He did a drunk act. He played the magic the magic castle, and he worked for, he taught at Chavez School of Magic in LA. He was a dancer. He was just really, we just love Al. Love Al. He was great. There it is. Okay, that's our Frankie, the vanishing horse, and that's me. So that's our truck behind the horse. We're about to go on tour, and so there's this whole story about this horse. Not the horse. I'm sorry, the horse illusion. So there was actually 2 horse illusions. So the first one, I can honestly say, I believe my dad worked a year on it in the garage. It was elaborate. He used Dante's Florodora as part of the equipment. The Florodora was kind of like this big platform with a top and a bottom, and he refurbished it for this illusion. The horse was going to walk up a ramp and go inside this contraption. Then the curtains were going to cover it up, and the curtains were going to fly up, and the horse was going to be on. So really, a lot of time, a lot of money. He spent this is going to be his big finale. So what happened, so during rehearsal, he rented a warehouse at the Alameda Fairgrounds. We went there, and they were rehearsing. They had a ramp up to the floor door to that contraption. The horse wouldn't go up. He would not go inside. I think because it was too low, and they spooked him. And they tried. The horse wouldn't do it. So he had to scrap the whole thing, and he came up with something else, and maybe you guys seen it, maybe you haven't. And I would say not as good, a little hokey, but he was under obligation to all these places to have a vanishing horse illusion. It was kind of a contractual obligation to all the places where we would be playing. So he had to come up with something. So he did. It was really simple. It was like 4 panels that surrounded the horse, and the horse would just slip out the back. They would be unzip the back and go out the back, drop, and pretty simple. But, you know, he came up with that illusion like in 2 minutes. So there it is. The clocks, he built the clocks. I remember him building the clocks. It was like 18 clocks. He had such skills. He would solder aluminum sheeting, and the clocks were all different sizes, and it really consumed him for months. He was in the house building this trick, this routine that he did with my mom. And it was very demanding. She had to, everything was in time to he recorded ringing bells in the music, so they had to produce these clocks in the exact time that the bells sounded off in the music. And it really they had to do it in time, so it became like this dance. So I don't know if any of you saw it, but you know, those are all other things he threw away. He threw away, and I would have loved to have one of those, but you know, he didn't want. He was very protective of his crops. Here we are. You know what that is? That was at I think the Hacienda, I think. Yeah. And I know this is Gloria, but you know, this is in the Monte Carlo Theater and lands with all the different magicians from the dynasty. Here they are. And that's how I remember them, going to magic events, all dressed up, really happy. They just loved it. He loved magic. They were a really great couple together. They were charming and funny, and really beautiful inside of them, for sure.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Is that the mantle of magic or whatever?
Yeah, it's called, that was the mantle.
Can you
need
talk
this photo?
no, before, next, back? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about that?
So what it was is an old, it covers like 4 or 5 generations of magicians and entertainment and magic. Began in 1908 when Harry Keller retired. I think it was really started off as a publicity thing, and he was retiring, and so he said, okay, I'm going to pick Howard Thurston to carry on the great tradition of magic. And they had this whole ceremony. I think it was like to get publicity. It was a publicity thing. But Howard Thurston was willing to pay like $7,000 for Harry Keller's equipment. So that's how it started. And the tradition would have been, is that when Howard Thurston neared retirement, he picked Dante. When Dante neared in retirement, he picked my father, and my father picked Lance.
And does Lance still have it?
He has it, and I did talk to him one time, and he said he's going to carry on the tradition. He's going to find a successor, and the whole thing's going to keep going.
Cool.
That's what he said.
Thanks.
Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, you can go ahead and ask.
What year did Lance get in there?
I think 95? Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember a ceremony at Cal Magic
Yeah.
that you were there when
Lance was out with his
Lance
milkshake.
showed up, and it was what a great evening that was.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, Lance is a really nice person. He's great. Okay, that's the Monte Carlo. Okay, so when he was looking for a successor, he did visit Copperfield in Vegas. But I think they just really liked Lance. And Lance was really great show and everything. Here we know who they are. That was at one of the magic conventions. But they didn't really it really didn't see much of Copperfield or Siegfried and Roy. Okay, so Moyo Miller over on the left. I don't know if anyone met her, but she was Dante's lead assistant. And that's my parents, and she's with Lance. Of course, she's sitting on Lance's lap, right? So she loved show business. She loved it. But, she was with the Dante show 20 years. Then they retired, and she had kids, and they moved to Santa Clara. And then they all moved up again, at some point. Moyo and Arturo and my parents. They had a great time. They'd go to magic convention. They'd laugh. She loved showbiz. She loved her 20 years with Dante. Yeah, she was really interesting. Okay, and we all know that photo. And Lance. Oh, just can't say enough about Lance. Just what a great person he is. He's retired. He's in Kentucky. Okay, I got this quote. I sent him my book, and I was unsure for a while how he would respond because I did kind of reveal some things there. So I was unsure. I didn't hear from him. I didn't know if I should even ask for an endorsement. But he wrote back. He said, "It's generally frowned upon in magic to reveal tricks, but let's just call it artistic license." And so he gave me that really lovely endorsement. Right. So that's my sister and I. He was like really an amazing person. But you know, he could be challenging as a dad. But you know, when I think back to him, and I really liked writing the book, I feel like it was fun kind of bringing him alive again on the pages. And but anyway, a really interesting, fun, unusual father. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for being so here.
Did you have a agent to accompany him on the tours?
Oh yeah. Well yeah, that one tour we took in '77. Yeah, but not early in his career because I wasn't around then. But yeah, that one tour in '77. Yeah.
How
We were
old
on
were you?
tour almost 4 months.
How old were you in 77?
14.
14.
Yeah.
Did you
So
get,
I was really stage struck. I thought this was my big entry into show business.
so you weren't eye rolling off to the side of the stage, you were into it.
I wasn't what?
You weren't rolling your eyes on the side of the stage, you were still.
I was very into it. I was really excited to be there.
Did you have a role in the show?
Mm-hmm. I was an assistant. I jumped out of some boxes. I jumped out of a big gold top hat. Yeah. It was fun. My moment in the spotlight. It was great. Yeah.
Did you keep a diary?
I did. My journal entries, and they're actually in the book. So you'll notice on chapter 11 on is when we're on the road, and it's my real writing with all my misspellings, and it's all there. You can see all my enthusiasm on my journal entries. Yeah. Yeah.
What happened to the rest
Patrick?
of his shows?
Oh, Patrick?
Katy, did you have a tutor that went with you?
Yeah, had a tutor, yeah. She's one of the showgirls too. And we had there was 7 people, 7-person crew.
What happened to the rest of his show, the items he was like?
Well, Lance got all the equipment. The floating piano though, Cindy got. I still have the top hat. It's kind of a sentimental kind of thing. I don't know what I'll do with it.
What about the horse?
The horse ended up with a young girl who was just learning to ride, and they called her the Magic Lady.
Oh. Did
Yeah.
Cindy, did you have a tour?
Oh yeah, she was on the road until she was 8 years old.
Until you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned to read and write in the back seat of a 57 Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this one story about, it was in the 50s, and it was Halloween night. So they needed to take Cindy trick-or-treating, so they got a sheet from the hotel bed, they got a white sheet, made her a ghost, and they got in a taxi, and they went trick-or-treating. Yeah, that's the story. Yeah. Yeah?
Being around so many magicians, did you ever take up magic as a hobby?
No.
Not even a card trick? Nothing?
What I realized is that to really want to be a magician and to learn sleight of hand, you got to have it in you. It's got to be like something in you that wants to spend the time, really focus on it, memorize it, and it has to be in you, and it wasn't in me. I've had to think a lot about what makes someone want to be a magician, or anything, any art that's really challenging, and it's something in you that you just have to do it, and I feel like that's true for magicians. Would you guys agree?
Well, you have a gift of writing, and storyteller.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Katie, how many years did your dad actually on the road performing?
Before I was born, I think it was.
Well, a combination between the two.
Well,
Through the 40s.
yeah, after World War II to 1958. So that's maybe 13 years or so. And then the 4 months on the big show. But then, then they did a little tiny show. They played community colleges for a while. And maybe that was, altogether 15 years, 16 years? Yeah. Anybody else?
Quick question about the piano illusion. Because I was up in Fort Bragg and I was doing this show for some friends, and they brought up this story of this guy who came into town with a piano that would levitate while somebody was playing. Was that what was happening?
Sounds like it. But how long ago, though?
Oh, it had been quite a while ago.
Yeah, well, it could, of course, probably him.
So the kid, or what, would sit on...
Oh, so each
How did it work?
Each
Like,
town, the sponsor would be responsible to find a local pianist,
Yeah, that's what
right, who could play the piano upside down. A lot of times, they didn't really think it was going to go upside down. They didn't think so. They thought it was optical illusion. So the story is at one time, it really starts to rise. It starts to tilt. The woman playing it starts to really get nervous. She just quits playing. And she's really scared. And like, oh my gosh, this is really gonna go upside down. And so Dad turns, she's really scared. She goes, I didn't think this was really gonna happen. So he turns off his microphone, he says, keep playing. The music is what keeps it up. That's the story.
And she would be belted to the...
Oh, yeah, right. The piano player had to be belted to the seat.
Yeah.
Because it really broke.
I thought Steve Allen
Yeah.
would do that. Was
Yeah.
that one of your-
Well, yeah, that was, okay, this is the sore point. So they wanted to be on Steve Allen because, television was becoming really popular. And they sent him photos of the floating piano, I'm a magician. So Steve Allen, he took the idea they'd use trick photography. They didn't hire them to perform. They didn't get the booking, but they got the idea for a floating piano with trick camera. So they never liked Steve Allen after that. Never liked him. Okay? Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit about some of the illusions that he inherited from Dante and which ones made it in the show?
All I really know is the Floridora.
What is Floridora?
Well, it was I'm not sure how it works. It was a piece of equipment. It was a trick that Dante had done. It was a huge piece of equipment. And somehow Dad ended up with it, and they put it in the show, but he didn't really like to do the trick because Dad's show moved every night. And it was it was just like, it didn't break down. It was just an enormous piece of equipment. It was really heavy. And Dante would stay in one theater for months. But they had to move every night, so I think after a while they didn't even do it. And actually, I'm really unsure even what the trick was with the Floridora. But he ended up with the piece of equipment, and that's what he used for the horse illusion.
And so when you go on tour, how many people would be on tour with you guys?
7. Yeah. That was, that's 7 people. Yeah. You need it. Every single person, you need it. Yeah.
In that first poster, it said in the bottom right-hand corner, with Helene. Was that your mother?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Her show name was Helene. Her real name was Helen.
Oh.
Yeah. But on the road, though, he called her Helene. It was like 2 different people.
Did you have a show name?
No.
Oh.
I was just Kate. Just Kate. Yeah.
How old were these parents when they passed?
96, 92.
Mm.
Katie, you have a very good speaking voice.
Oh, thank
Have
you.
you ever thought of making an audio version of the book?
It is on Audible.
Oh, really?
But I don't speak it.
Mm.
Oh.
I hired somebody because it would have taken a lot of time, and I didn't want to spend the time on it. But thank you.
Yeah, you could totally pull it off.
I just finished E.G. Carroll's book.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, it's a riot.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you so much. Bookshop.org, Barnes and Noble,
In person right now?
in person right now, I got them over there, $14.95. What a deal, huh?
How much is your autograph?
Oh, thousands. But you guys will get a discount.